In this episode, I'm going to give you a bit of an update on exercise pitch black, plus self-study versus the classroom. Does it actually matter? All that and more coming right up. So strap in and let's get into it.
Good morning, 3614, Alpha Mallow 7 PAB with Alpha.
Coordinating, Halo, I'm running bank, talent, bank pressure rolling at 30 degrees. That's 30 degrees there. Sit by star 9000, 1013, K5 25.
G'day everyone and welcome to another fantastic episode 206 today of the Flight Training Australia podcast, the podcast all about flight training and flying in Australia and beyond. G'day, I'm your host Trent Robinson and it's a pleasure to welcome you all again. Well, it's been a fantastic couple of weeks. Exercise Pitch Black, as always, has been roaring to life. Just when you think you've got a nice couple of minutes to yourself, the mighty roar of those turbojet engines shakes the building. You have to stop briefing for a moment because there's no point talking over the top of it. You can't compete. But there's been people everywhere in Darwin at each end of the runway. Thank you to everyone who commented on my little YouTube video that I put together there. And if you haven't watched it, obviously a little bit late for this year's exercise, I guess, but there's a lot of good information in there. I'm very humbly been told. But if you didn't know, you need tickets to go to the open day. There's a little bit of planning required, and so many people are so disappointed because I didn't realize this. So if you haven't checked that out, maybe have a look and mark it down in your calendars for 2 years' time. Pitch Black's every 2 years, and it's not over yet. We had the Mindle Beach fly past the other night. Thousands of people on the beach at Mindle Markets and enjoying a feed, and then the entertainment, 90 minutes of mixed action and adventure, including the police ATV that got bogged trying to chase some people. That was quite amusing. Gave some excitement to the end of it all, but of course everyone pitched in and they got it out eventually, albeit covered in mud. But yeah, what a great display. And look, I'd probably say the 2024 one was better purely because we had the VTOL aircraft there, the Harrier and the F-35B, both of them sitting there hovering off the beach next to each other. Probably the last time I'll ever see a Harrier performing like that again. It's just brilliant. But the jets, the airliners, or now tankers, they were fantastic. They were a lot closer this year. Did some maneuvers themselves, seeing some converted airliners, basically A330s and 767s and the like, do some pretty decent maneuvers. The Airbus A300, that was awesome. Great show. So A400, sorry. And great to just see so many people enjoying themselves and the Air Force putting on a great display. But it's still not over yet. We have the 1st of August, this coming Saturday, is the Pitch Black Open Day on RAF Base Darwin. As I said earlier, unfortunately, it is a ticketed event. It's free, but purely for crowd control numbers and buses and things. Look, I know there's a heap of people asking for tickets. I know there's a lot of people that have got tickets that aren't going to use them. Don't know why, but anyway, I guess good luck, and hopefully there's a few more released because it's always a shame for people to miss out. But if you are going, enjoy the day. Make sure you go to Sunshine Slushies and get yourself a slushie from Adam and the team there. And also come and see yours truly. I'll be there with Darwin Flight Training. We've got a stand in the big marquee, I'm assuming, or we'll be there somewhere. And definitely come and say g'day. I'll have some new stickers I've just got made up for sale, a few little bits of merch, and hopefully some new hats, which been promised I'll be ready by Friday. So there was a few hold-ups and things there, but hopefully all that works out and you can get yourself a Flight Training Australia or Trent Robinson Aviation hat, which many of you have been asking for, and they'll be available for sale then. And if not, they'll be online soon where there'll be an opportunity to purchase them when I pull my finger out and get that bit sorted out as well. But come and say g'day. There's a lot of you I know that are in town, have lots of questions and everything else, so that'll be the perfect time to capture me and say g'day. And I look forward to meeting you all. But moving on to today's episode, I just wanted to talk a bit about self-study and classroom ground school, because there's been a lot of chat online that I've seen of late, and also my personal experience with some students / pilots who are self-studying or going through ground school and having various levels of success. And as I said in the title, self-study versus a classroom, does it actually matter? And don't we all love the word, well, it depends. It depends on a number of things. And the main one here is probably it depends on you. Now we can break that down into a whole heap of levels. So let's have a look at it all. Look at some pros and cons, and then how to bring it into relevance for your personal needs and goals, and help you decide what way you need to go forward. So the advantages of self-study. Well, I think it's probably pretty obvious. The biggest one is cost. You're not having to pay someone to tutor you, to ground school you, to train you. You purchase textbooks or even an online course or anything else, but certainly a cheaper way to go about it. But that's where some of the problems, I think, come in. And this is a big driving factor, I think, for a lot of you at the moment, is cost. And hey, we all get it. Aviation is not a cheap enterprise. It is a expensive hobby. It's an expensive career choice to get up and running in the first instance. I really do get it. But the advantages of self-study are obviously some genuine ones. You get to learn at your own pace. And that is a big difference between classroom environment. Some of you may well get left behind. The classroom's on a schedule, and you end up not picking up concepts and things and needing to spend some more time studying it all and missing out on the other stuff because you're sort of focusing on what you don't understand that was just covered off. But at the same token, it's hard to pick up difficult concepts sometimes if you're not as academically enabled, for lack of a bit of a term. You may struggle, and then you need to go and try and find help and everything else. All right. It does let you study around work and family schedules and commitments. And again, understand not everybody can do full-time study. Evening courses are available around the place from time to time. But again, when you've just done a full day's work, then try to go to night school, it's not for everyone. And that certainly was around a lot when I was training. But I think I see it probably less and less now, just because life's just a lot busier these days, and it makes it really hard to sit down for 3 or 4 hours after a long day's work and focus on ground school and get any real benefit out of it. But the biggest thing here, I think, is it's a pro and it's a con, that you become responsible for your own learning. Now, if you're structured and disciplined, goal-orientated, then this can work. But if you're not, if you're the kind of person that procrastinates, needs your hand held a little bit, which is not a bad thing. I need to do that sometimes as well. But if you can't set a schedule and keep it moving, then this tends to snowball and drag out for months and months. Next minute, you've finished all your flying and you still haven't passed the bloody exam. Yep, there's a bunch of you going, yeah, that was me. All right. So for motivated people, it can be fantastic, but it assumes that you know when you don't understand something, you have an ability to figure that out and work through it, or have access to a core group of people, maybe fellow students who are also self-studying, and you've all got different strengths and weaknesses and you can help each other out through it that way. But it can be a dangerous assumption that that's all just going to work out for you just because that's all you can afford. The other thing I just want to bring into here as well is to caution you on some online courses that are starting to show up. Not one in particular. Again, it's always buyer beware, whether it's a textbook or an online course. But with the joys of AI generation. There are some out there that I've had people send me either questions or study material from those courses that just has outright wrong things. All right. So be very, very careful. I guess it's hard when you're, I've always said I'm going to pretty much stay away from ground school theory delivery, because if you're using my questions and answers to shape your learning, and if you keep getting a question wrong because I got the question and answer wrong, and then you have a negative transfer of learning from that, that's not ideal at all. And I'd be gutted to think that you're failing questions or failing an exam because I hadn't updated something or ticked the wrong box and were marking you wrong incorrectly. So be aware of all that. As always, it can happen. Feed the info back to the developer. But there's some out there who are a bit faceless, I guess. You don't really know who you're dealing with, who put the course together, and there have been quite a few errors in there. So just be mindful of that one. All right, on to classroom advantages. So the classroom provides things, obviously some videos and stuff can't do, and that's questions, discussion, interaction, someone challenging your thinking, learning from mistakes that others make. And if you've got an experienced ground instructor, they can immediately recognize when you're having trouble, when you've maybe just learnt something rather than really understanding it. And that's an incredibly valuable skill set and benefit of a classroom environment. And I see this all the time with flight exam or flight test questioning, that on the surface level, people get the answer right, often, sometimes by default or mistake. And you just ask one more little bit of question to really test the level of knowledge and understanding of it all, and they've got nothing. And this can happen with exams too, because what happens at the end of all this? Are we just trying to pass theory exams? Now, for some, yeah, I'd say maybe, but a lot of this actually underpins the flying that you're going to do, either now or later. And remember, sometimes, depending on where you're learning to fly, there might be a lot of questions to do with places that have nothing to do with where you are right now, but then you do go flying in those environments later. All right, I'm going to Cairns again, and like I said, mountain waves, wind, terrain. Just don't have that sort of stuff much in Perth, unless I went down to Albany direction, but in Darwin up here, nothing. But Cairns, we've got back up to 6,000 foot lower safes and things. So all these bits of knowledge, it needs to be sitting in the grey matter there, ready to be accessed when the day comes. All right, so where both methods can fail, this is probably the interesting part. I've seen classroom students who can't apply anything they've learnt, and I've seen self-studied online students being exceptional and the exact opposite. But this usually comes down to one thing, and it's that transition from knowledge to application and the individual. So you've really got to have a good idea about how you like to learn and what benefits you. And a lot of people, I've got students who all the time just say, Trent, I'd rather just sit in the classroom with you and pay you for your time and spend a few extra hours just really drilling down and understanding it than just getting in the plane and going and knocking out whatever needs to be knocked out and then getting some qualification at the end of it. And as you know, I'm very much against that method and that process, and I generally won't let it happen anyway. So as an examiner, that's where I can start seeing cracks appear. You can rote learn or recite a regulation, quote POH figures and that sort of stuff, explain controlled airspace. But then we get airborne and the knowledge just isn't there. The application isn't there. And so going from an exam method and level of understanding, it's not just to pass the exam. A lot of this is usable knowledge and required knowledge for when you go flying. All right, because knowledge can exist in isolation. It needs to become part of the decision-making process. And instrument rating is very much, and night rating to an extent, very much requires these skills to be successful. Right, so a big difference between I know the answer and I know why. Right, there's a lot of what going on right now, what to do, not necessarily why you're doing it, when to do it, when to change it. All right, and the same can be with the theory transition to flying as well, as to understanding why you're doing something. Take weather, for example. All right, most students can tell me what the legal minimums are, but trying to then decide, right, so can we go flying today? They'll be like, I don't know, it looks okay. I said, but you just told me that this is the VMC minimum, and what's the cloud today, and what airspace are we in? All right, so it's about taking that knowledge and then applying it to real life situations. So when you're doing your studies, when you're preparing for a flight test, doing the ground school in class or the ground component for a test, it's always the scenarios that applying the knowledge to real life. So it is far more meaningful, and it empowers you to make good decisions, to understand why things are happening, and be able to challenge things when the time comes up. So regulation is knowledge, the decision is understanding, and flying can reward that understanding. And that ultimately builds to good situational awareness, as I've mentioned. It's where it becomes a safety issue. When you're trying to remember facts, trying to figure out how to use the GPS, program the autopilot, work the instrumentation or whatever else is, do a fuel calculation, you're not focused on looking outside, flying the aeroplane, monitoring traffic, missing radio calls, all that sort of stuff. So situational awareness starts to shrink. All right. So competent pilots don't just know information. They've connected the dots. They're applying it. And this obviously happens in a transition from early stages right the way through to commercial flying. But that's what we're looking for in commercial pilots when they show up here to Darwin and everywhere else looking for jobs, and how they have an understanding of knowledge, and why is it that if we're about to go flying over water, the wearing of a life jacket hasn't even occurred to you. Yet if I asked you an exam question about life jackets, hopefully you would be able to answer it. So the role of instructors, right? This is why good instructors aren't called lecturers, right? They ask questions. What if? Why? What would change? If this happened instead, what would you do if? Right? That's how we turn knowledge into judgment calls, into decision making. And decision making is something that isn't being taught very well at the moment. There's a lot of what to do and when to do it. Why just doesn't matter, just do it. All right. And then having to do things for yourself. So the more latitude instructors can give their students to have time to make decisions, don't keep chiming in with the answers and hints and things, let them work through it. You can fly the aeroplane for a minute if you have to whilst they work through it and come through. And either way, if it's a good decision, a bad decision, learning results. All right, so is self-study better? Sometimes. All right, is classroom training better? Sometimes. All right, I think ultimately classroom training always, you're always going to get a better experience in classroom training, having those discussions and really consolidating the learning and applying it versus just learning out of a textbook. Like I said, some people can do it and have an excellent level of knowledge and application. I'm not knocking it at all, but exposure to both is a good thing. If you were solely self-trained, I'd be surprised if you could overall compete on the same level as someone that's gone through a quality ground school environment. All right, but I get it. If you haven't got access to it, you just can't do it, then, you know, there are recorded classroom things or classroom delivery sessions online for sale and that sort of stuff, and that's probably the next best thing. So you can participate in what happened on the day when it was recorded. They're pretty much recorded live right the way through. So there are some options out there, but have a look. All right, but the good question I think to ask yourself at the end of all this is, has your learning changed the way you think in an aeroplane? because aviation has never rewarded people who just know the answers. It's always rewarded those who know how to apply the information when the pressure is on. And in my experience, that's the big difference between passing an exam and ultimately becoming a safe, competent pilot. All right. Thank you very much for listening. Like I said, I'm off on an aeroplane to Cairns to hang out with the team at Hinterland for the day, which will be fantastic. So I'll most certainly report on that, and hopefully can do some stuff at the open day as well. Security access and interviewing and all that sort of stuff difficult, but I have some plans, and hopefully I'll be able to do a little bit of that. But please come and see me at the booth. Like I said, I'll be with the guys from Darwin Flight Training, who we work together very, very closely. I'm their deputy who, and they tend to look after the RPL, PPL, sort of CPL training, and I do the rest of it. And we would love to see you there. So come on down, Pitch Black Open Day. Make sure you got your tickets. Hidden Valley and the Darwin Showgrounds are the two parking locations. Make sure you've got the parking pass and the air show entry or the open day entry tickets as well. Okay, until then, stay safe everyone, blue skies, and remember the golden rule: aviate, navigate, communicate. Cheers everyone.